Welcome, one and all, to the grand, gloriously grand extravaganza that is the Binge podcast. I'm your host, here to guide you on a whirlwind tour through the weird, wonderful, and often downright baffling world in which we find ourselves. Now, you might be asking yourself, just what in the name of all that is holy are you going to subject us to on this podcast? Well, my friends, the answer is simple. Everything. Absolutely everything under the sun and beyond. One day we might be delving into the obscure history of button collecting. The next we could be exploring the cutting-edge science of llama massage therapy. And who knows, we might even tackle the age-old question of why socks always seem to go missing in the laundry. Obviously aliens. You see, here at The Binge, we believe that no topic is too bizarre, no subject too obscure to warrant a deep, thoughtful, and thoroughly irreverent examination. Because let's be honest, the world we live in is already so utterly bizarre that the only logical response is to embrace the madness, lean into the absurdity, and have an absolute blast doing it. So strap yourselves in, my friends, because we're about to embark on a journey that will take us to the furthest reaches of human knowledge and back again. We'll laugh, we'll cry, we'll ponder the great mysteries of the universe, and we'll do it all with a healthy dose of sarcasm and a desperate need for a strong cup of coffee. Ready? Of course you are. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to have your mind blown, your socks charmed off, and your sense of reality irrevocably shattered. Welcome to The Binge, where the only limit is your imagination and maybe your attention span. All right, let's get this show on the road. Up first, Kanye West. Genius or just a hot mess? You're not going to want to miss this one, folks. This episode sponsored by Abbey Streets.
It's the Binge Podcast where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast. Come join us fast.
The paradox of Kanye West. Genius or just a hot mess? Kanye West. A name that elicits a wide range of reactions from adoration to absolute horror. He's a musical genius who has shaped the sound of hip-hop and pop for over a decade. But let's be real, he's also a walking cautionary tale of how not to conduct yourself in public life. While he's given us chart-topping hits, he's also served up a heaping helping of drama, controversy, and eyebrow-raising moments that make him a terrible role model. So let's take a humorous dive into the many ways Kanye exemplifies what not to do if you're trying to be a beacon of inspiration. First off, let's talk about his Twitter escapades. Kanye is known for his prolific tweeting, which often ranges from brilliant insights to nonsensical rants that make you question if he's even remotely in touch with reality. Remember when he announced his run for president in 2020 via a string of erratic tweets? It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. One minute he's talking policy, and the next he's claiming he'd make America great while simultaneously asking if anyone had seen his lost Yeezys. This raises a crucial lesson for young minds. If you're going to run for office, maybe don't do it while you're in the midst of a Twitter meltdown, you know? And then there's his artistic approach to relationships. Kanye's romantic life has been a series of headline-making moments, from his whirlwind romance with Kim Kardashian to his very public breakdown following their divorce. His penchant for airing personal grievances in public, like that infamous speech where he interrupted Taylor Swift during her acceptance speech at the VMAs, should serve as a masterclass in how to make everyone around you uncomfortable. If you want to teach the younger generation about respect and humility, you might want to steer clear of using Kanye as a role model for how to handle your personal disputes, because let's face it, that's a hot mess waiting to happen. Let's not overlook his business ventures either. Kanye has successfully launched several fashion lines, notably his Yeezy brand, which has become a cultural phenomenon. But his approach to business often feels like a chaotic mix of genius and sheer madness. For instance, remember when he declared he was $53 million in personal debt? Instead of taking a step back, he turned it into a Twitter plea for support and a public call for help from Mark Zuckerberg. The message? When you're in financial trouble, just tweet at billionaires and hope for the best. Talk about a life lesson in responsibility, or rather the lack thereof. It's like handing out how to fuck up your finances pamphlets. Kanye's attitude towards mental health is another area ripe for criticism. While he has been open about his struggles with bipolar disorder, his public behavior often undermines the serious conversations surrounding mental health. His erratic outbursts and public meltdowns can reinforce harmful stereotypes and discourage open dialogue about mental illness. It's like he's playing a game of, look, I'm the crazy artist, without recognizing the responsibility that comes with being a public figure. If we want to promote mental health awareness, maybe we should look to role models who handle their struggles with more grace and self-awareness, because we all need a little less drama, for Christ's sake. Finally, there's the issue of accountability. Kanye often shifts blame or refuses to own up to his mistakes, making it difficult to see him as a figure who learns from his actions. When called out for controversial comments or behaviors, he frequently resorts to defensiveness or outright denial. This sets a dangerous precedent for impressionable fans who might think it's okay to dodge responsibility instead of facing the music. If you're looking for a guide on how to gracefully accept criticism, Kanye is not your guy. And that's putting it mildly. So, what do we make of this paradox? Kanye West is undoubtedly a music innovator whose impact on the industry is undeniable. But he's also a textbook example of how not to navigate public life. If we truly want to inspire the next generation, we should seek role models who exemplify accountability, respect, and emotional intelligence, qualities that seem to evade Kanye in spectacular fashion. In the end, while it's easy to be mesmerized by his talent and larger-than-life persona, let's not forget that Kanye West is more of a cautionary tale wrapped in a hit song. So the next time you find yourself dreaming about fame, fortune, and living life on the edge, remember that chasing those dreams doesn't have to mean embracing chaos. Instead, focus on building a solid foundation of respect, accountability, and healthy relationships. After all, nobody wants to end up like the guy who declared himself a creative genius while simultaneously turning his life into a goddamn circus. The Wheels of Progress. Creation of the automobile. In the annals of human ingenuity, few inventions have had as profound an impact on society as the humble automobile. What started as the fanciful musings of a deranged German tinkerer has blossomed into a global industry that shapes the way we live, work, and play. And the best part? The story of the automobile's birth is an absolute riot peppered with historical nuggets that would make even the hardened gearhead chuckle. It all began in 1886 when Carl Benz, a man who should have been committed to an insane asylum rather than allowed to tinker with dangerous machinery, unveiled his Motorwagen, a three-wheeled monstrosity that looked like it was designed by a toddler high on pixie sticks. Benz's Motorwagen was the first gasoline-powered automobile, but it had a top speed of just 10 miles per hour. Clearly, the early automotive pioneers were more concerned with making things move than making them move quickly. Benz, it seemed, had the mechanical aptitude of a tree sloth and the foresight of a goldfish, as he earnestly believed this clunky contraption would one day replace the trusty horse and buggy. Of course, the initial public reaction was about as enthusiastic as a child being forced to eat their vegetables. People looked at Benz's creation and collectively thought, yeah, no thanks. I'll stick with the horse that doesn't need to be cranked like a music box to get moving. But Benz, undeterred by logic or common sense, pushed on, determined to force his bizarre vision upon the world. It took several years for the public to warm up to the idea of a self-powered carriage. In fact, the first customer didn't purchase one of Benz's Motorwagens until 1888, when he finally added a fourth wheel to make the thing a bit more stable. Fast forward a few decades, and suddenly the automobile started to gain traction, pun intended. Henry Ford, a man with a legendary dislike of windshield wipers and turn signals, decided to mass produce these mechanical monstrosities, making them affordable for the average person. Ford's iconic Model T, introduced in 1908, cost just $825, equivalent to about $23,000 today. This made it affordable for the growing American middle class and helped cement the automobile's place as a household item rather than a rich person's toy. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, quite a lot. The early days of the automobile were rife with peril, from spontaneous engine fires to brakes that worked about as well as a chocolate teapot. Drivers would often find themselves careening down the road, white-knuckled and terrified as their vehicles threatened to tear themselves apart at the seams. In the early 1900s, many cars had no brakes at all, relying instead on a foot-operated parking brake that was about as effective as trying to stop a runaway train with a piece of string. It's a wonder more people didn't end up as hood ornaments back then. And let's not forget the cultural upheaval the automobile caused. Suddenly, people could travel farther and faster than ever before, which meant they could also get into way more trouble. Speeding, road rage, and the dreaded backseat driver all became part of the automotive experience, much to the chagrin of the easily perturbed masses. The first speeding ticket was issued in 1902 to a motorist traveling at the breakneck speed of 12 miles per hour. Clearly, the authorities of the time were a bit trigger-happy when it came to enforcing the law. But through it all, the automobile persevered, evolving from a rickety death trap into a sleek, technologically advanced marvel. Today, we take for granted the fact that we can hop in a car and travel hundreds of miles without the aid of a team of horses and a strong pair of legs. We've come a long way since the days of Benz and his three-wheeled monstrosity. So the next time you're cruising down the highway, blasting your favorite tunes and enjoying the wind in your hair, take a moment to appreciate the sheer lunacy that brought us to this point. The automobile may be a technological triumph, but its origins are firmly rooted in the kind of madness that would make even the most seasoned psychiatrist reach for a bottle of aspirin. The Silver Lining of Body Dysmorphia, a Paradoxical Exploration. In a world where self-image is more curated than a high-end Instagram feed, body dysmorphia has emerged as an insidious companion for many, lurking in the shadows of our consciousness like an uninvited guest at a party. It's that relentless little voice telling you your hair is a catastrophe, your skin is a battlefield, and your overall existence a tragic comedy. Yet, in the midst of this self-critique, this constant goddamn scrutiny of the corporeal self, lies a peculiar opportunity for insight, growth, and maybe even a warped kind of beauty. Let's be candid. The idea that a bit of body dysmorphia could yield some positive outcomes seems almost heretical. But consider this. That gnawing dissatisfaction you feel every time you glance in the mirror might not just be an enemy to be vanquished, but a catalyst for something richer and more profound. After all, the pursuit of perfection, while often a Sisyphean task, can ignite a fire under your ass. When you're painfully aware of your perceived shortcomings, it can propel you into a frenzy of self-improvement that's as relentless as it is exhilarating. The gym, the diet, the endless hours spent Googling how to achieve a flawless jawline, these aren't merely acts of vanity, they're declarations of agency. You're actively resisting the inertia of mediocrity, even if that resistance is rooted in a gnawing sense of inadequacy. Now, let's engage with the notion of creativity, a topic laden with irony if you ask me. Here's the deal. The most compelling art often emerges from chaos, pain, and that dark night of the soul where the self is dissected and reassembled. Artists like Van Gogh, who wrestled with their own demons, birthed works that resonate with the very essence of human struggle. So if you can't see beauty in yourself, maybe you'll be more inclined to seek it elsewhere. The next time you're mired in self-doubt, channel that energy into something creative. Paint, write, compose. Transform that internal battle into external expression. Your flaws could become the grist for the mill of artistic creation, giving rise to a new form of beauty that defies conventional standards. Let's not gloss over the social dynamics here either. If you're actually aware of your own perceived imperfections, you might find yourself developing an empathy that's rare in a world obsessed with image. In an era characterized by superficial connections and curated personas, your struggle might serve as a gateway to deeper understanding. You become a connoisseur of human experience, able to navigate the complexities of others' insecurities with a kind of grace that can only emerge from self-awareness. You might even forge genuine connections based on shared vulnerabilities, transforming what could be isolation into community. And then there's the realm of fashion and self-expression. A little body dysmorphia might push you into avant-garde territories, leading to experimental clothing choices that defy categorization. Who knows? Your wardrobe could become a manifesto against the blandness of societal norms, a reflection of your unique perspective, a living, breathing critique of the status quo. Fashion, after all, can be a powerful tool for redefining identity. And let's not forget the resilience you cultivate through this struggle. If you've spent years navigating the treacherous waters of self-doubt, you've developed a mental toughness that's enviable in its own right. Life will throw you curveballs, losses, disappointments, the everyday grind, but you've already weathered a storm that is both internal and relentless. Your adaptability becomes a superpower, a skill set honed in the fires of self-reflection. Now, before I meander too far down this philosophical rabbit hole, let's take a moment to acknowledge the gravity of body dysmorphia. It's a legitimate mental health issue that requires understanding, compassion, and sometimes professional intervention. The aim here isn't to romanticize suffering, but to offer a glimmer of hope, a recognition that even in the darkest corners of the psyche, there can be the seed of something beautiful. So, as you stand before the mirror, examining that perceived imperfection, the little things that gnaw at your self-esteem, consider this. Maybe that discomfort isn't just a cruel joke, but a potential catalyst for growth. What if, in the labyrinth of self-critique, you discovered the very essence of what it means to be human? In a world fixated on superficial beauty, embracing the complexity of our flaws might just lead to a more nuanced understanding of ourselves and others. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of beauty we've all been searching for. Join the Binge every week for a new episode.
You know by now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. By now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Binge podcast, come join us fast. Tune in right now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat, it's the Binge podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge podcast, come join us fast.